about the
Is Chris
what's that?
Bair. He is from a company you've probably heard about because you hear me talking about him all the time called Keto Chow. Go check him out. I was just telling the story about how I found you guys at KetoCon circa 5 years ago, somewhere around there. And I
Yeah.
saw Keto Chow and I was like, I thought you were literally a keto dog food company. I didn't know what you were. But I have since learned what Keto Chow is. I've got about 10 bags in yonder.
Nice.
Banana is my absolute favorite flavor. Mixed with heavy cream, shaken well. I got a little system now, dude. Like I got them all set up. I always have 2 Keto Chow in my fridge ready to go at all times. So when I need a little something, something, I go in there and get it. So yeah, so he's here today. We're not going to talk about Keto Chow, but that can come up if it wants to. But we're going to talk about like food choices, why people don't need to squabble about other people's choices,
Yep.
ingredients, why electrolytes are important, and really a lot of things. I've known you for a long time now, so welcome to the show.
Yeah. Thanks for having me on. Have you tried keto chow with butter yet?
Have I tried Keto Chow with what? Melted butter?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it's fantastic.
Well, heavy cream is just a liquefied version of precursor
Yeah.
butter, so I guess it makes sense. Obviously unsalted.
I use salted butter all the time.
Do you?
I actually so I don't know if you've gotten on the Ninja Creamy craze yet.
I'm having trouble hearing you. If I gotten on
Okay,
what?
hold on a second. Let me switch.
Just one moment.
Let's try this.
There you go. Yeah, you were fading. Like I could hear you at the
Okay,
beginning. Just
how's
fade
this?
out.
Is this
There you-
better?
Yes, it's butter. It's butter. It's much butter.
It's much better. Anyway, the Ninja Creamy. It's this like ice cream maker that everybody's going nuts about. I actually made some keto chow with butter last night and put it in the Ninja Creamy. That's what I had for breakfast this morning. So it was
Okay.
fantastic.
So it
Anyway,
it creamifies like hard butter so that it makes
well,
well. Is that what it does?
no, the creamy. It's weird. You mix up stuff that you want to make into ice cream. And the thing looks exactly like a coffee maker. It's actually kind of funny. But you've got these pint jars. You put the liquid in there and freeze it overnight. And then it's a drill press that has a propeller on the end, essentially. It shaves it down and turns it into ice cream. It's really weird.
Wow. Now
Anyway,
I've made inadvertent ice cream out of Keto Chow many a time when I've stuck the thing in the freezer trying to get it cold enough so I could drink it like soon, because it does take a
yeah,
little time to kind of solidify and liquefy and all the things to make it taste good. So I'd stick it in the freezer and then I'd forget. And then the next
yes,
morning pull it out and go, well, I've got banana ice cream now.
there you go. Anyway, we don't have to talk about that. But yeah,
Just for people that don't know, JimmyLovesKetoChow.com. Go check them out. There's a starter bundle kit, guys. If you have not gotten yours yet, go to JimmyLovesKetoChow.com. It gives you a lot of the different flavors, and they're not just sweet. They've got some savory flavors. They've got different like minerals. If you don't get enough daily minerals, they got electrolyte. I probably have fasting drops around here somewhere. I accidentally left that in my car one time, the fasting drops, and
oh,
it
okay.
exploded.
Oh,
Because
wow.
hot in the car.
I've never had that happen.
I had salt all over the internal parts of my car there. Get a good salt.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Oh,
go check
man.
out the products. They are good, but we're here to talk about a lot of different things. So let's
Yeah.
start there with electrolytes, because that is
Yeah.
something that I think a lot of people, they know-ish about it, and they think, okay, that's salt. I salt my food. That's enough. Some people use these little things like Element and other Relight, and then your company makes lots of great products as well that kind of do it. Why do you think people, even in our world, aren't mindful of electrolytes like they should be?
Well, I think a lot of it has to do with people don't know what they're missing out on. They don't recognize that they're at an abnormal state of electrolytes.
Yes.
They don't realize that, hey, I should feel better than I do. I'm having muscle cramps. I'm having trouble sleeping, and they don't recognize that that could be problems with electrolytes, not enough magnesium or sodium, things like that. And I think that that's one of the big things is people just don't know what they don't know.
Well,
And
manifests on a ketogenic diet as getting a Charlie horse, or other kind of cramping going on. Oh, I need more electrolytes. And yeah, a lot of times it is that. But electrolytes do so much more than that.
Yeah. Yeah, they really do. Well, and when I started a keto diet way back when, I didn't know that the keto flu was even a thing. I didn't do a lot of research. And so, yeah, I got keto flu. I was laying in bed. I thought I was sick. Turns out I wasn't. I just didn't. I needed some sodium. So I went and got some pickle juice, and that fixed me right up.
Yeah. Poor man's gator. The poor man.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But yeah, so electrolytes are just so important. We're good friends with the Redmond people, and I actually we have a bunch of mineral supplements, and we don't actually make a lot of money on them because we price them so that we just want to help people out so that they can live their best life.
Yeah.
So
and I know you teamed up with Dr. Barry for the Daily Minerals product that you did. Yeah, there it is. I've got them all. I should have had like a whole little Keto Chow little family around me because I've got all your stuff. Yeah, so that's cool. And it is so easy to be mindful of your electrolytes. Just be mindful to get it into your diet. People are a little bit reticent to put salt in water, for example, or electrolyte drops in water because it does somewhat change the flavor, but you're not like making it like you're gonna like be in a float tank kind of amount of magnesium and everything. You're just getting enough in there, and throughout the day making sure that you get it. Yes, salt your food with Redmond's real salt. I do. I got a big bucket on top of my fridge, and it happens, and you get enough. And look, it helps with satiety. You can't be fully satiated unless your body knows that it has all the different vitamins and nutrients that it needs, which includes salt, magnesium, potassium.
Yeah. And if I would love to have everybody have the opportunity to eat a meal with Dave Feldman. I don't know if you've ever had that chance, Jimmy.
Yeah.
That man eats salt with a little bit of food. We were at the San Diego Low Carb USA, and Maria Emmerich was sitting like between him and me, and she was looking at him putting salt on his steak, and he actually took the lid off so that he could put more salt on his steak, because he has come to recognize that if he doesn't put in, I think he's getting like 11,000 milligrams of sodium a day, not salt, sodium.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's a lot.
Just for context, I get about 5,000 to 6,000, and that's a lot.
Yeah. But that's Dave's particular thing. And I think something that we all need to learn is, people ask us all the time, like, well, how much, electrolyte drops, how much do I need? It's like, I wear a size 10.5 shoe, so I think you should use blah, blah, blah. No. Everybody needs to come to recognize what they personally need. And sorry, you said something?
You don't know what your deficiency is. Like, you could be really deficient in magnesium or sodium or potassium and not even know it. So testing for that, and then going crazy if you need to. It's kind of like vitamin D. When you see it a super low number, let's say it's single digits, you're not going to sit there and take 1,000 IU and hope it goes up. No, you're going to throw 10,000 IU a day for a period of time to really get it to rise. And so it stands to reason your sufficiency or insufficiency in those things is what determines how much you need.
Yeah. And I always like when people are like, well, how do I use like the magnesium drops? Well, or the electrolyte drops. I usually just add it to my water until I start to taste it, and let my palate be the determining factor. If I need more sodium, I'm going to like the taste of the sodium.
Yeah.
And so there you go.
People often say, do I have to put enough in there that it feels like I'm drinking water from the ocean? No, that's too much salt.
Too much. Yeah.
Don't do that yourself. But yes, mind your electrolytes, guys. And yeah, it helps stave off the keto flu. It helps prevent the Charlie horses early on. But like so many benefits. That's fascinating about Dave Feldman. I have not seen him go crazy salt. I met him and had dinner with him early on when he kind of first got started with a lot of his work. And so he wasn't quite to that level yet. Me of kind of the way I was when I first kind of went keto, and I was like, I'm not scared of saturated fat. I'm putting butter in every bite, just kind of get that mentality of not being fearful, because we've been told to fear salt like we did saturated fat for so long, that you kind of go the other direction when you learn and do better.
Yeah. And someone asked, well, what electrolytes do I use? I use Redmond salt on all the food that I'm eating, and then I use the Keto Chow electrolytes in my liquids.
Yeah, so that's that website I told you guys earlier, jimmylovesketochow.com. You can get all of the things that Chris has at his company. Again, his company called Keto Chow. On here today, I'm going to kind of bounce all over the place. He's a biohacker like I am, likes to do all these little N=1 experiments. What was that one? How many days in a row did you drink just Keto Chow?
So the longest time I went was 100 days with no other food.
That's right. And you just had Keto Chow just to kind of show, okay, look, guys, it really is a complete meal replacement. I remember having you on my podcast at the time. You were in the middle of it, and I was like, are you tired of it? You say, yeah, a little bit. But I mean, it's like I miss smoked meat like crazy. And one of the main reasons I did that experiment was also to find out which fats were best. Because the only thing I was changing for the 100 days was I doing heavy cream, or was I doing avocado oil, or was I doing butter? Butter gave me the best results. So why do you think butter? Was it the saturated fat?
So it has a really good mix of saturated fats primarily, with some good short chain fats. Yes. It's extremely low in carbohydrates. There's 0.03 grams per tablespoon, which is a rounding error. I mean, come on. Heavy cream has 0.41 grams.
Right.
So anyway, butter also stores better. TSA doesn't care if you bring it on a plane. I mean, it's great stuff.
I came back from Australia one time. I did speaking there, and they gave somebody, then the last night, they always hear me talking about loving grass-fed butter. So they gave me a stick of butter, and I'm like, I hope I can bring it. Okay, I'll bring it in my carry-on, and I'll eat it with my food on the plane.
They took it away?
They confiscated it. They're like, this is liquid, sir. You can't. I'm like, no. At least bite out of it before you take it away.
They took your butter? Oh, man.
Butter. I felt so bad. I'm like, I would have tried to at least down it that morning and some arm.
Yeah, that's awesome. Anyway, so butter was best. I will
have to try butter. So like, how much do you do? Like I buy Kerrygold butter. So like a quarter of the stick. Like, I'm trying to like visualize it.
So it depends on your personal caloric requirements. Because the amount of fat that you add to Keto Chow. So for any of you who don't know, Keto Chow, nutritionally complete meal shake. You add whatever fat you want along with water. It makes a complete meal. All the vitamins, minerals, everything else you need. But your nutritional requirements are not the same as someone else's.
Right.
And so you may need a half a stick of butter, or you may need a quarter stick of butter, or maybe you want to do a quarter stick of butter with a quarter cup of heavy cream because you want to mix them up, or you want to throw some MCT oil in, or whatever you want to do.
Right.
We do have a calculator on our website that you type in how many calories you want, and it says, okay, for that you use this much of whatever fat that you want to use. But if I'm mixing them up just for people to taste, I'll use a half of a stick of butter, and that it ends up being a shake that's about 530 calories.
Okay. Keto can be hard. Tabulating, measuring, baking, taking 3 months to perfect one recipe, and to mixed reviews.
Did something die in here? Oh, I think it moved.
And by that point, you give up your diet, find a dark corner, and stuff yourself with sugar, carbs, and regret.
This, isn't what it looks like.
Well, this is where Keto Chow saves the day. The easiest, tastiest, ketoist meal replacement on the market.
It's like ice cream melted in my mouth.
Yes, but melted ice cream with all the protein, nutrients, vitamins, and electrolytes your body needs.
Oh, that's cool.
And with 3 starter kits, each with restaurant tips, keto food guides, and a ton of flavors to try. Your taste buds and your waistline will thank you.
Thank you.
So grab your starter kit today at jimmylovesketochow.com.
It's so easy.
Keto Chow. Make keto easy.
Yeah, I don't know about the calories. I listen to satiety, and it's like, okay, if I'm guesstimating, I put the same amount of heavy cream in the bottom. I've got like a system now. I put a little ice at the bottom, then I put the little ball in there, then I pour the heavy cream on top of that, then I put the scoop of Keto Chow on top of that, then I come over and fill it up with the water machine, so there's about that much at the top. I put the top on, I shake it.
Yeah.
Room in there at the top so it can shake and mix. I learned the hard way. If you don't leave that room, it's going to be clumpy at that first gulp.
Yeah.
So you have to. So
now, if you do butter, you need to melt the water. Melt the water. Oh my gosh, melt the butter. I usually do use like a coffee mug or something like that.
Yeah.
And then you have to use warm water, and it's best with a blender. Just shaking up in the blender bottle doesn't work as well. It's kind of like next level version of making Keto Chow. Heavy cream is just really easy though. If you're just starting off, that's the best way to do it.
And basically, heavy cream is just liquefied early version of butter. So I enjoy heavy cream the most. I have not done it with avocado oil, only because I'm not that big of a fan of avocado oil as a standalone to drink. To cook with, have on vegetables, that kind of thing, cool. But to drink in a shake, I don't know. That'd be kind of weird for my taste buds. So,
and don't worry about it then.
Yes, heavy cream works. So let's get into ingredients, because this is something that I think a lot of people paying attention to a lot more and more. But then they get caught up in a lot of the marketing of ingredients. Well, this includes 100% of all the X ingredient that you need for a day, and then you kind of research it and you go, like, that's just barely scratching the surface of what you actually need. So talk about what is so important about ingredients, and even same ingredients, but different qualities of ingredients.
Yeah. Well, let's go back to vitamin D. So we were talking about vitamin D and how that's necessary. And if you're low on that, you would need to get more. Vitamin D is not all created equal. You've got vitamin D2. Yeah. You've got vitamin D3. And humans, the go out and get some vitamin D that everybody talks about.
Yeah.
What that's doing is your body is taking the precursors to vitamin D3, which is vitamin D2, and using the sunlight, it's converting that into vitamin D3. Because we have to have vitamin D3. That's called cholesterol. What, I don't know. I can't.
Yes.
Yes. Vitamin D3. Anyway, that we in Keto Chow. So one of the reasons why we use the versions of the vitamins that we use is because I use it for my own food, and so it's a lot of companies will use vitamin D2. They'll use vitamin K1. They'll use folic acid instead of methylated folate.
Yes.
And sometimes they do that because it's cheaper.
Yes.
Like magnesium. Okay, if you look out on a magnesium supplement and it says magnesium oxide, just put it back. Because it's essentially paint, and you're not going to be able to absorb that. I've heard Dr. Barry talking about the vitamin A. Everybody would always go on and on about beta carotene.
Right. Beta
carotene is the plant form, and it has to be converted into retinol.
Yeah.
In order for humans to use it. And we can convert it a little bit, but not very well. And so when companies use the cheap forms, and a lot of times it's not just that it's the cheap form, but it's the vegan or plant-based form of the vitamins.
Yeah.
They're doing a disservice to their customers because people think that they're getting good vitamins, good nutrition.
Yeah.
When in fact what they're getting are inferior precursors. It's the stuff that. Oh, go ahead.
So help us out. So if we're looking on a label, and feel free to throw out any that come to mind, but if you're looking on a label, how do you identify if it's a quality kind versus one of these cheaper kinds that are plant-based?
So unfortunately, some of it is you just have to learn the names of them.
Okay.
Quality products that have these added to them will tell you what type it is.
Okay.
So now sometimes they'll use the easy version like vitamin D3. Okay, that's easy. Other ones like, well, there's folate, there's folic acid, and then there's 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate.
Yes.
And if it doesn't say 5-methyl tetrahydrofolate, which is a mouthful, the MTHFR thing,
right,
you're not getting the right kind of folate. And if you're the type of person who has that MTHFR gene mutation, which you've got that, lucky.
I've got one of them.
Okay, so if you're the kind that has that, you can't use folate or folic acid. You have to use MTHFR, and so it's important if you are, and we're going to get into this a bit. If you are in a place where, because of your schedule or because of your situation, you're not able to take the time to cook real food, and you have to go with something that is pre-prepared or processed. I like to point out that cheese is my favorite processed food.
Yeah.
Anyway, so are eggs, unless you're good at picking them up off the ground.
So is olive oil, avocado oil, even butter. You want to kind of get to the brass tacks of it all.
Yeah.
Processed.
Yeah.
But it's still processed.
Yeah. So if your life choices mean, if your situation in life means that the choices that you have to make for your food involve getting processed foods, getting prepackaged foods, there is some onus on you, a requirement that you're going to have to learn to look at the ingredients to choose.
Yes.
And you've got companies that have jumped into the keto space, and they're throwing together stuff with maltitol, and they're using fibers to sweeten the stuff.
Yes, and they're not even trying to hide that they're not keto, because I was looking in the grocery store the other day, Chris, and there are wraps and they have a big sign on the front of them that says keto. Yeah. Always catches my attention. So I flipped the back, and the very first ingredient, enriched whole wheat flour. I'm like, really? So they're not even like pretending like they're following any parameters, and there's no oversight, that there's no definition of keto by the FDA or whatever, so they can say whatever they want. They can make any claim they want. It's keto, and it's not.
Yeah. Yep. And it's unfortunate, and so I have a company, and we sell a keto product. Now, we've been around a lot longer.
Let's be clear. You make a legit keto product. I've tested my blood sugar with a CGM on. It hardly moves with Keto Chow. I mean, it may be 5. That's it.
Yeah, but it is hard in the marketplace because people see, oh, this just says keto on it. Well, if it says keto on the label, just don't even buy it.
Yeah.
I can see where they're coming from.
Yes. It's easy to get jaded, as the bait and switch has happened way too much with a lot of companies. I'd say the vast majority of the products that are out there right now that say keto on them have problems. The vast majority, maybe 10 to 15%, and Keto Chow would be in that, are totally legit. Like, that's the thing, guys. If you get caught, is this keto? People ask me all the time, oh, I got this here. Is it keto? I'm like, test your blood sugar. Just see how you respond to it. Like, that's the telltale sign of how keto it is for you or not. I don't like really labeling foods keto, because it's like, okay, what could be keto for one person and get them into a wonderful state of fat burning won't work for somebody that's heavily type 2 diabetic, very insulin resistant, and maybe that same food doesn't serve them well. But find those foods that do. This is why animal-based foods almost universally work for most people in that way. And then those quality companies making quality ingredients, quality products with quality ingredients like Keto Chow, same thing. You kind of have to trust your own instincts there and read the label. Yeah. And you're very open. You're talking today very openly about the ingredients that you include and why you include them. Not all companies are willing to do that.
Yeah. Well, as you were talking about that, so something that I like to do when I'm looking at keto products, I like to find out the story behind the product, like keto brick or keto bars, yes, or different things like that. Was this created by someone, not as a company, not as a way to make money,
right?
But they were just like, hey, I need this for myself.
Yes. Yeah, Robert and Crystal, who do the keto brick, yeah, they were like, we just need something quick and easy. We go backpacking sometimes, just need something to be able to get our energy in a very dense form. And so, yeah, they just made these big bricks. They look like a bar of soap. Like literally, if you get it, you could like bathe yourself with it. It looks like it, but it's like a wonderfully, perfectly portioned, like calorically fat bomb, basically. And it's beautiful what they've done. And yeah, they're another company that has keto in the title and yet is totally legit. I don't really like them a whole lot because they've got coffee in them, and I'm a hyper taster, and I don't like
some of them don't have coffee now.
Oh, okay, so, good. So,
yeah, and I like to melt them down and make them smaller.
yeah. Well, a lot of people, they do. They put them into molds and make like a little star mold or something, and they pop a star at 100 calories, that kind of thing. So, but yes, it's fun when you have a product like that. And your product's fun like that too, because not only do you do the shake, but a lot of people bake with your product as well. I've done a few little experiments where I'll add in a little Keto Chow to like maybe like a what is that, cup mug in the microwave that you can make. You can easily make it using as the protein powder. I almost hate calling Keto Chow protein powder because it's more fat than protein, but it does have protein in it. It's whey, right? Is the protein?
Actually, we used to use whey protein, but we switched to milk protein isolate, which has it's the proteins that are in cheese as well as the proteins that are in whey. And we did that because it dissolves slower, or rather, it digests slower. It mixes up creamier. It just works a lot better, and it has less of a insulinogenic effect on most people. We also have 3 flavors that use beef protein and beef bone broth protein.
Yes, savory ones, right?
Yeah, that's the taco soup, the tomato soup, and the beef base. And speaking of soup and making stuff, Jimmy, have you ever tried making the drop biscuits using the savory chicken soup?
I have not, but now I will.
Do you have any of that? Because if not, okay, good. Because that recipe is legit. We make that every time we go camping, and we'll make biscuits and gravy.
I'm currently in the midst of a 100-day journey where I'm sticking just or so that ends December. And then there's Christmas time. So maybe around Christmas, I will make the drop chicken noodle or the chicken soup there.
Okay.
That sounds
now. We were talking a bit about stuff that's keto and not keto. Something that I've been kind of harping on a bit lately is people will get a bit uppity about this is keto and that's not keto. And something I like to remind people is that if you're allergic to peanuts, regardless of what it does to your blood glucose, for you,
it's a no.
Peanuts are not keto.
Yes.
Now, just because they're not keto for you does not mean that it's now your responsibility to gatekeep and tell people that peanuts are not keto.
Real Good Foods is one of the fastest growing frozen food companies in the U.S. Everything they make is nutrient dense, high in protein, low in carbs, and made from real food ingredients. They make food for every occasion: breakfast sandwiches, poppers, enchiladas, entrees, and pizza. So whether you're on a keto diet, trying to cut back on your carbs, or just trying to eat healthier, they make super convenient and tasty options. RealGoodFoods.com and @RealGoodFoods on social media.
Dude, like I love the people that are kind of mocking this now. And I've seen a few of them out there, a few of my athletic keto friends, and they're like, oh, a banana's not keto? Are you sure about that? and then they'll eat it, and they'll show like an hour later blood ketones, 1.1. It's like it is for me. Now I hate those people because I can't do that.
I can't do that either.
And it'd be 0.1 after an hour. But
Yeah.
I love that we're getting to this point where people are recognizing, okay, it's not foods, it's the metabolic state that happens when you eat any given food. But if somebody can have a sweet potato and they stay in ketogenesis, like, why are we bemoaning those people that they're not keto? And vice versa. Like, if somebody's eating bananas and sweet potato, well, why aren't you eating that on your keto diet? And it's like, well, it's not right for me. Well, it works for me. So I hope we're getting away from this is keto, this is not keto, because we just don't know.
Yeah. Well, now, not to completely throw them under the bus, I can understand where those people might be coming from. That I personally am still very, very upset about what the processed food industry, what big food did to my health.
Yes.
What I'm actually really, and I'm really mad that I didn't get to eat all that sausage I wanted to eat when I was a kid.
Or worse yet, you had to eat the chicken sausage, which tastes.
Yeah. And so I can understand how people are upset about these things, or they started their keto journey and they ran into this product that everybody was like, oh, hey, these Kirtland protein bars are low carb. Look at how low, they're super high in fiber, but they're great for keto. Right. And then they started eating those Kirtland bars. This is speaking from experience. And all of a sudden, all their progress stopped. Yeah. But I can still have, these are keto. Look at the net carbs on them. And so when people start asking questions about, well, hey, can I have such and such on keto? Unfortunately, it's not cast as, well, it may work for you, but this is the experience that I had. So you may want to be cautious and check your blood sugar.
Yes.
That's how we should always approach it, right?
Right. Well, look what's happened in the carnivore world in the last few months. You had one of the big boys out there talk about adding honey into his carnivore diet, and people lost their lid. They were like, oh my God, how can you do that? Okay, it comes from a bee. I guess that's sort of kind of from an animal. And it's like, it had a lot of controversy. But like I always would tell people, just test to see if it works for you. Look, I would love to have like a honey glazed chicken if I eat chicken, and have honey on that. I would love that. But I can't. I know I can't. I've tested blood sugar. Honey has a negative impact on my blood sugar. And that's what you need to do. I think what we need more than anything, Chris, is to teach people the fine art of N equals 1. Like you and I are voracious N equals 1ers. I'm in the midst of it right now. You've done many of them. But not everyone has engaged in that. Testing blood sugar, testing ketones, using these parameters. There's so many tools at our fingertips now. You'd be crazy not to test and at least see how you do.
My friends say I'm a tool.
This is not... Is that what it says?
Yeah.
You're a tool.
Yeah, that's right. Anyway, sorry, you were saying.
Yeah. So I was just saying, like, I think we need to teach people how to utilize these tools that are available to us so they know if something's good for them or not. This could be a Keto Chow, get in on this action, make a little like N equals 1 kit that kind of teaches people, here's how you put together your experiment, maybe a little booklet or something, and then maybe a glucose meter, ketone meter. It'd be kind of cool to have that all in one place. Okay, you have said food does it, especially Keto Chow, does anything negative to you. Here's the kit. Go at it.
And then we could teach people the scientific method while we're at it.
Yeah. Well, it's been lost in the last couple of years, scientific method. We'll save that for another podcast.
Yeah, let's go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, so it would be ideal if when people are asking that sort of question, and I see this a lot with Facebook groups, that they become very militant.
Militant is a good.
that and they kind of established that there is only one truth about keto, and all other truths are not right. And yeah, and it's unfortunate that it becomes that way and it becomes divided.
Right. Yeah, I hate it in the keto world, and this has not been that long ago, maybe 3 years ago. It was the whole high protein versus high fat debate. I was at conferences. I led panel discussion, kind of talking about this subject. And
Yeah.
really, the conclusion I came to, Chris, out of all of that gobbledygook of this is why I do this, is figure out which is best for you. Like some
Yeah.
people are going to do better with higher fats. Some people are going to do better with higher protein. And here's the thing for me. I used to lean on the higher fat side of things. Now I'm like, okay, I see the value of more protein. So now I personally do more protein. Now it's still a high fat diet. This is where it gets convoluted, because even the highest high protein is still pretty high in fat as a calories. It's still going to be in the 50s, 60s percentile of fat. So it's still a high fat diet, but it's percentage of protein. I don't think anybody needs to go way low protein unless you're a vegan. That's what they push. What is it? Was it John McDougall? Oh, I need less than 10% of your diet in protein. It's like, okay, no wonder you're so emaciated.
That sounds like a recipe for disaster, but I don't know. I figure that I'm on a high fat diet. I'm just trying to use this stuff right here.
Yes. A little chunk of fat right there.
Anyway, so yeah, it is. And by the way, the whole high fat versus high protein, that has been starting to resurge considerably thanks to PSMF.
Yes.
Just in case you were wondering. Yeah.
Protein sparing modified fast, for those of you that don't know.
Yes.
And also some big boys in the high fat movement have started seeing results adding in more protein. Andreas Ehrenfeld, diet doctor, actually wrote a post about this, where he actually pushed his body to eat more protein to see what would happen, and he had wonderful results. Now, the man's never been obese, but he's big, he's strong, and he found he got stronger. He found just little changes that made him go, okay, I've forever preached low carb, high fat, LCHF, but I'm going to kind of say, all right, there's something to what Ted Naiman and others have been talking about.
And maybe you'll be able to walk around with a shirt off like Ted Naiman. But I do think it's important, like we've been talking about, to find out the way, what is appropriate for you. We've got ancestrally appropriate foods, right? And then we have Jimmy appropriate ways of eating and Chris appropriate ways of eating.
Yes.
And it really is on each of us to find out what's appropriate for us. And when somebody asks, there's a lot of gatekeeping that goes on that I think it's regrettable, because I think it probably turns people off to this way of living, that if somebody asks a question, people may jump in and yell at them that that's not keto, you're not doing keto right. And it comes across as your dietary choices are inferior, and you should give up and stop it because you're bad.
Yes, and it also comes across as very elitist, that, well, if you want to do this the right way, here is the one and only right way. Look, I think this is what led us to keto to begin with. So many of us was we were told, here's the one and only right way. And when you don't do that one and only right way and you don't see success, you're the problem. And we hated that, we lament that, but look, we've become what we loathe.
Live long enough to become the villain, right?
Yeah. I mean, I always try to be pretty even keeled in the community, and telling people, find what works for you and then do that. But they listen, especially people that have huge followings. If they got a blue check mark by their name, or they have huge followings, a name of value, and they're, oh, well, so-and-so said do this, this, and this, and so I'm doing that because they wouldn't lie to me because they have 100,000 followers, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, take everything with salt, even the people you respect the most. I tell people, question things I say all the time. Like, yeah, I want you to hear what I say, absorb it, see if it passes your BS meter, and then try it if you want to, or that's not for me. Not going to hurt my feelings. We're all purveyors of information and putting it out there and then letting you choose ultimately what you do for yourself.
Yep. Well, Jimmy said I should eat jalapeno poppers, but I'm allergic to nightshades, so I guess I'm just going to deal with being allergic. No.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and we the whole elitism and gatekeeping, we do get that a lot with, well, again, Keto Chow. Hey, we have a shake, and a lot of times people's experience with a shake is like it's poor, to put it frankly. They see it as this thing that people who don't have willpower use, or I don't know. I do see a lot of gatekeeping and a lot of shake shaming and things like that.
It pisses me off, Chris, when they say that your product is junk. All right, I always push back. What makes Keto Chow junk? Well, it's processed food. It's not real food. Okay. Chris and his wife Miriam would be the first people to tell you, go eat real food as the primary version of how you do keto, and these are to fill in the gaps when you don't have time. Like literally, when I wake up in the morning and I'm doing all these protocols that take about 5 to 6 hours to complete them all, having a Keto Chow shake in the morning as a quick nutrition, at least I have peace of mind that I know I'm going to get good nutrition. I drink that happily. And then when I get done with the biohacks, I come back in here, I can make a nice meal later. But it's nice to have that on hand. And so when they call it junk, I'm just like, all right, describe junk. Define that for me. Because if you're telling me just like a Snicker bar, you're wackadoodle. It's not like a Snicker bar, right?
Yeah. Well, and I joke around that also I didn't know how to cook very well before I started a keto diet, which is, I guess, why I made Keto Chow, because I'm an engineer. For anybody who doesn't know, by the way, I'm not a nutritionist. I'm not a doctor. I am a networking and systems engineer who knows all sorts of stuff about Linux and video compression and all this other weird stuff. I'm just really lazy. And so I wanted an optimized way to get things done easily. And so I didn't know how to cook when I started a keto diet. And since then, I have invested rather heavily in what I like to refer to personally as medical devices.
Yes.
I have this medical device known as a sous vide. I have a smoker and a Blackstone grill. And these are ways that I keep myself healthy. And I really wish I could use a medical deduction to buy them.
I put that on your medical write-off at the end of the year. Let's see what your tax guy says about that.
I don't think it would work very well.
I'd like to put my butter on there as well, but I don't think it's going to pass.
No, I don't think that would pass either. But and I do think it is, like you said, it is so vitally important that people learn how to cook. Yes. Because it's especially like, well, this is a fun story. One of my daughters went off to college, and she wanted to know. She's like, "Hey, Dad, I'm really craving meat because all the food that they're eating there in the dorms is like, it's junk." And she went from our house, which honestly, we're mostly carnivore at home.
Right.
We don't buy a lot of, we buy some fruits and vegetables, but a lot of what we eat is just a lot of meat.
You smoke a lot of meat. I'm turning on your stories on Instagram. There they are, smoking another.
Yeah, that's right. Our local grocery store had briskets for $1.99 a pound this week. So, yeah. Anyway, so she went from house of meat to just junk. And so she was starting to crave meat.
Yes.
Which I thought was cool. But she had never demonstrated a desire to learn how to cook. So despite my best efforts to help her learn, it was never something that she wanted to do. And, it's the whole, you can't force people to do stuff. Well, you kind of can, but they have to be ready for it. And so now she's wanting to not only eat meat, but she's wanting to learn how to cook it. And I sent her Carrie Brown has a really good blog post about how to cook the perfect pork chop.
Nice.
The secret is you start with a cold pan.
Yes.
And so I sent that to my daughter, and now her thing is cooking pork chops. Like, she is master pork chop lady. And so, like, she's like, hey, we should have pork chops for dinner, and I'll cook you guys pork chops. And it's just really funny to see that change in her. And I think that that's something that we all need to go through when we start a keto diet, to learn how to cook.
Have you experienced the dreaded keto flu? Did you know that most of these symptoms are actually due to your body dumping excess electrolytes? This is where Element comes in. Element is a tasty electrolyte drink mix with everything you need and nothing you don't. That means lots of salt with no sugar. Element is formulated to help anyone with their electrolyte needs and is perfectly suited to folks following a keto, low-carb, or paleo diet. Element contains a science-backed electrolyte ratio, 1,000 milligrams of sodium, 200 milligrams potassium, and 60 milligrams of magnesium, with none of the junk, no sugar, no coloring, no artificial ingredients, no gluten, no fillers, no BS. Everyone needs electrolytes, especially those on low-carb diets, or if you practice intermittent or extended fasting, if you're physically active, or sweat a lot. Add Element today and see how much better you feel and perform. Use the URL drinklmnt.com/Jimmy.
Well, and look, I grew up, and you're a little younger than me, but I grew up in an era where we had home economics in high school. Like, you could take classes. I remember being in a class, one of the only guys in home ec, but I loved to cook as a kid. And
it was a required class in my school.
Yes. And so what happened to that? What happened? And by the way, guys, you want to make your lady happy, cook for her. I promise you, Miriam is very happy anytime you're making right?
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah, she likes it when I cook her food.
Yeah.
She actually has a t-shirt that we picked up at Black's Barbecue
Yes.
in Austin. It says, feed me brisket and tell me I'm pretty.
Yeah. In Austin, Texas, if you ever go to Austin, go to Black's. That is the place. Yeah. Across the street from where they do KetoCon is called Terry Black's, and it's pretty good too, but Black's is the original, and oh my God, brisket. I have dreams about that brisket. It's so good.
I have dreams about the beef ribs, and I've actually made beef ribs. Turns out that I can buy them at Sam's Club.
Yes.
You just have to know exactly what to ask for. They're called plate ribs.
Plate ribs?
Yep. And they usually cut them crossways and make them into the like Korean style short ribs.
Yes.
But you can get the actual it's just a big square of ribs. Anyway, those are fun to make.
We can dream about barbecuing all day. So
there you go. There you go.
You've watched this trend with me. You guys have been around. You kind of came around. You put keto in the title of your company. Keto as a trend is on its way out in terms of like book publishing. Like when I did Keto Clarity, there was no keto books. It was the first boy in town. And so it came along. Then all this flood of books came on the market that had keto in the title, like the foods, some good, some not so good. And now it's kind of on the downward trend. As a trend, do you see keto still being viable? Would you have you thought about, do we need to change the name? Because it's kind of two things. It's gotten convoluted with all the bad keto foods out there. And then number two, it's going on its way out. So eventually it will be irrelevant. Or do you think keto will remain a relevant name for many years to come?
So that's a really good question. As a network engineer and someone who is not trained in business or marketing, so take this with a complete grain of salt. I remember, I think you had an interview that you did a couple of years ago with the guy who used to, I think that he either it was like keto.com or ketogenic.com.
He had yes, he was a big boy in the food marketing industry. Yes.
Yeah, that was by the way, a really interesting interview, and I even remember where I was driving when I was listening to that.
That's cool.
Anyway, so you've seen a surge and a waning of keto as a thing in the past.
Yeah.
I think you're going to see the same thing again.
Yes.
I think I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this properly.
Is there a good?
I think one of the
besides keto, instead of calling
low
it
carb,
is there a good
healthy?
Is it carb conscious? Is it low carb? Like, what do you think's going to be the selling point? Look, I called myself Living La Vida Low Carb many moons ago.
Yeah.
Because I didn't want to marry myself to the Atkins diet. And then paleo came around. I didn't want to be called low carb paleo. Then keto came around. I didn't want to be Living La Vida keto and carnivore, Living La Vida carnivore. I wanted to be Living La Vida low carb, because I think you will always have people who will be carb conscious, wanting to lower their carbohydrates. So is that the answer? Low carb chow?
Well, okay, now to answer your question about the proper name for the movement, I think Dr. Barry's got it spot on when he calls it the proper human diet.
Right.
And that phrase answers so many of the questions and so many of the concerns. It's a lot easier to say also than ancestrally appropriate human diet.
Look, paleo, they tried to get away from paleo. This was like 10 years ago. They tried to get away from that name because everybody's like, oh, unga bunga caveman. So they had a little bit of that kind of negativity towards it. And so they tried ancestral, and nobody knew what they were talking about.
Yeah. So proper human diet works really well. As far as the way of eating and as far as the movement, I think that one's spot on. As far as the name Keto Chow, man, if I had a chance to go back and do it again, I would pick something different. For those of you who don't know where that comes from, there's a TV show called Futurama, and there's a fake product called Bachelor Chow, which is everything that a bachelor needs. Anyway, that's actually the genesis of the Keto Chow name. And people are like, yeah, like you said, chow. You thought it was related to dogs.
Puppy chow. I thought it was puppy chow.
Yeah.
Keto puppy.
Well, the funny thing, so we get that question a lot, and so we have a set thing. Hey, it's what we picked, and it's easy to remember.
Yes.
It's kind of a little bit fun. And then I have a thing about the history of the word chow and how it's been used by the military for the last like 200 years. And Purina puppy chow has only been sold for the last 65. So, okay.
Yeah, you're grandfathered in.
Yeah, and I'm also a bit pedantic.
Well, that's why you and I get along.
But yeah, I do see, and we could, before the world ended in 2020.
Right.
We were seeing a massive surge in interest in ketogenic diets and keto diets.
Right.
And a lot of what we thought was going to happen as far as growth didn't, because the world fell apart.
Yes. Well,
go ahead.
I was just going to say, you have all these people that read my books, Maria's books, everybody that had a keto book. And so you got a lot of people that are carb conscious looking for good quality products. So I think from a keto food brand, you're going to sustain for another 5 to 10 years pretty strong with keto in your name, even while what happens next in the next food trend, which I think the next food trend is find what works for you. Like it's always been that, but I think we kind of run through the gamut of all these diets that kind of, okay, they had their heyday in the sun, but now people are like, okay, I'm tired of this diet down, this diet down, this diet down, and just find what works for you. But I think you guys are going to see sustainable business for at least 5 to 10 more years. There was that big Credit Suisse
that's right.
15 that talked about the future of food is high fat products. And that's about the time you guys came out. And I think it's going to be to 2025, 2030 that you still see good sustained sales because people still love keto. They're doing keto, even though some of them are doing a mainstream version of it, not an actual keto diet. But okay, fair. But they're going to be searching out companies like yours. So I think having it in your title now, in the name of your product now, is probably wise. Maybe down the road you realize, okay, that's kind of fallen out of favor. Let's shift at that point. But for now, I think you've got a good brand. You've got great products. I'm a big fan of your products, obviously. And I make your banana shake. I've got 2 of them in my fridge right now. I'm fasting.
Nice.
So when I get through the fast, 24-hour fast, I will be having one of your shakes to break the fast. It's a great way to break your fast too, by the way. If you ever go on a fast, you guys, you need something gentle to break the fast. Chow shake is a great way to do it.
Yeah. Well, and to get back to just a little bit, or we're kind of summing up here, but
Yes.
I want to point out that Keto Chow was never created as a way for me to make money. It was started, I was posting about it on my blog. You can actually still find the recipe for free that you can make yourself if you want to. And I kept my full-time job. I was working as a system admin for a nonprofit for a long time, and it wasn't until I had to pay so much in federal taxes that I was just like, okay, fine, this is a real thing. But I'm more interested in helping people on their keto journey than I am about them, this being a brand that's going to stick around.
Yeah.
I'm sure all of my employees want to keep their jobs, but we will often tell people that if you have to go into debt, please don't buy Keto Chow. If it's, get ground beef, get a cast iron pan, cook stuff up.
Yeah.
I see it as more of a luxury item that just makes stuff really easy.
Yes.
But it is not necessary for a keto diet.
Amen.
Anyway.
And thank you for saying that. I tell people all the time, listen to what the people who own companies that sell you stuff say. Because if they say, we want you to eat keto, which means real food first, then once you nail that and you want to add in our products, cool. Like I've always admired that about you, Chris, that you put the emphasis on what the diet is first. And then, okay, if you can afford and you want to add some variety, we got you. We got all kinds of flavors and all kinds of products that you're going to really enjoy. So guys, go ahead, go check him out. Chris Bair over at Keto Chow over on Instagram. And if you want to order some of his products, it is jimmylovesketochow.com. Don't forget to get the starter bundler. You get all kinds of everything. Even a shaker bottle, I think, is in there. You get all kinds of stuff to kind of get you going on your Keto Chow journey. But Chris, thank you so much. We had a good time. I knew we would be.
That's right. Well, thanks for having me on, Jimmy. It was fantastic.
Yeah, man. So, guys, thank you, and we will be back again real soon. Bye, everyone. Tired of playing the mask game? Me too. That's why I wanted to tell you about the Unmask. This is a breathable, completely breathable. It covers, you can't even see that it's breathable, but it's breathable. Whether you're going on a plane, having to go into a store and wearing this thing, playthemaskgame.com is how you can get this mask. They come in all kinds of colors and everything. In fact, right there, you can see right through it what it is, but when you're wearing it, it does not look like it's anything different, but it's breathable, baby. Playthemaskgame.com.